10 years ago, a New Mexico art dealer named Forrest Fenn created a poem with clues to the location of a hidden treasure. His challenge created a frenzied hunt for the chest containing, well, here's why it's frenzied, more than $1 million worth of valuables.
We've all heard tales of treasures hidden in forests or forgotten places, but Forrest Fenn made it real. He didn't just hide treasure, he left behind clues, like something straight out of a treasure hunt movie.
My feeling is, if you can find a treasure chest, you can have it.
For years, people scoured the Rocky Mountains, chasing riddles and risking everything to find it. What started as a wild idea became a real-life treasure hunt that cost some their savings and others their lives. So who found it? And what happened when they did? The art collector. Just think of living a life filled with art, history, adventure, and a little bit of mystery. That was the life of Forrest Fenn, an eccentric treasure hunter who became a legend. Born in 1930, Fenn was a man of many talents. A renowned art dealer, a collector of ancient artifacts, a pilot, and most famously, the mastermind behind one of the most captivating treasure hunts in modern history. For Fenn, treasure did not mean gold or jewels, it was about history, the stories that ancient artifacts could tell and the thrill of uncovering them. His passion for archaeology and his love for the rich history of the American West was deep. As an art dealer, he spent years traveling the world collecting rare and priceless items, but it was the Rocky Mountains that captured his imagination the most. Fenn wasn't merely fascinated by these artifacts. He saw himself as a protector of history, someone who wanted to preserve these pieces for future generations. But even more than that, he was driven by the adventure of it all. The excitement of discovery, the hunt for something hidden, and the joy of sharing that journey with others. That sense of adventure would become central to his legacy. When a life-threatening cancer diagnosis shook him to his core, Fenn began to think about his own legacy, about what he could leave behind that would outlast him. It was then that he made a radical decision, a decision that would change the lives of thousands of people. Fenn decided to hide a treasure chest filled with gold, jewels, emeralds, and priceless artifacts somewhere in the wilds of the Rocky Mountains. The treasure cost roughly $1 million. But this treasure hunt was no ordinary challenge. Fenn didn't just want to leave behind a chest for someone to find, he wanted to inspire people, to send them on a journey, to spark a sense of adventure in their hearts. He carefully chose a location that was as wild and untamed as the treasure itself, somewhere north of Santa Fe, New Mexico, and south of the Canadian border. He knew that to find it, one would need more than just luck. They'd need curiosity and determination, qualities that Fenn himself had always lived by. And so began the hunt, a search that would capture the imagination of thousands and grow into a legend of its own. For over a decade, people from all over the world flocked to the Rocky Mountains, following Fenn's clues and searching for the chest. Some were driven by the promise of riches, while others were drawn to the adventure, the thrill of discovery, and the idea of stepping into Fenn's world for a moment. But Fenn didn't make it easy. He left behind a trail of clues, not on a map, but in the form of a poem. 24 lines with cryptic hints, each leading closer to the treasure hidden deep within the mountains. It was a riddle, a puzzle, and the key to unlocking one of the most thrilling treasure hunts in history. The birth of the treasure hunt. Forrest Fenn didn't just hide a treasure, he hid a mystery, a treasure hunt unlike any other that would captivate thousands of people for years. And he didn't make it easy. He didn't just bury a chest and drop a map. No, Fenn was much more clever than that. He gave the world a challenge, a riddle wrapped in a mystery tucked inside a poem. It all started with his memoir, The Thrill of the Chase. Published in 2010, the book was more than just Fenn's story of adventure, art, and life. It also held the key to a hidden fortune. The treasure chest itself was filled with gold coins, diamonds, jewelry, and artifacts that Fenn had collected over the years. But the real treasure, it was more than just the gold. It was the thrill of the chase, the adventure. Fenn knew that, and so within the pages of his book he included a 24-line poem, each line a clue that would point to the chest's location. 9 clues in total, carefully designed to lead the brave or perhaps a little reckless to the treasure. But here's the twist. No GPS, no directions, no clear map. Just a poem, a riddle, and a promise that whoever could solve it would find the gold. Now don't think it was an average riddle. Fenn's poem was cryptic. It hadn't been just about following the clues in a straight line. No, this was about interpretation, about thinking outside the box, about finding meaning in words that could be interpreted in 100 different ways. The treasure was not sitting on a mountain peak, not in some obvious spot. It was hidden somewhere in the vast expanse of the Rocky Mountains, somewhere between Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the Canadian border. And that, my friends, is a whole lot of land to cover. So why did Fenn do it? Why did he hide a treasure chest in the first place? Maybe it was his way of leaving behind a legacy. Maybe it was because he was tired of the world getting too comfortable, too lazy. He wanted to stir up a sense of adventure, a call to action for anyone willing to take the challenge, to make people get out, explore, and see the world around them in a new light. After all, in a world full of screens and distractions, who doesn't dream of finding buried treasure? The mystery of the treasure's location. It became a puzzle that millions wanted to solve. The clues weren't just directions, they were riddles, each one more difficult than the last. Fenn teased the world with hints, but he didn't make it easy. The treasure could be found, but only by those who were determined enough to follow the trail and brave enough to face the dangers of the wild. What started as an idea for one man to inspire others quickly turned into something bigger, something that captured the imagination of people from all walks of life. People from around the world with no connection to Fenn except a shared thirst for adventure began to chase the treasure. Some thought it was an easy prize. Some thought they could find it in a week or a month. Others made it their life's work. And that's when the hunt really took off. People from all over the globe began making their way to the Rocky Mountains. They researched every line of the poem, tracing Fenn's words like detectives piecing together a puzzle. They studied maps, they hiked, they searched. They camped in the wilderness, fought through brush and rocks, and endured harsh weather conditions. Why? Because they all believed one thing: this treasure was real. And if they could solve the riddle, they could claim it. It became an obsession. Some didn't just want the treasure, they needed to find it. They couldn't stop, wouldn't stop. They'd travel to remote places, crossing rivers, climbing cliffs, and scouring miles of wilderness in search of the chest. What Fenn had created was more than just a game. It became a force that dragged people into the mountains, pushing them to their limits. It was more than just money anymore. It was about the chase itself. Forrest Fenn directed this whole treasure hunt, and he undoubtedly left John Turtletaub behind. After all, this was a real-life treasure hunt. And as the years went by, the treasure became a symbol of something much bigger: hope, adventure, the thrill of discovery. They were not after the gold. It was the dream of finding something hidden, something extraordinary. It was the idea that if they solved the riddle, they'd be part of something historic, something legendary. But you must agree that not everyone was able to crack the code. Thousands tried and many failed. The question became, how much were people willing to risk to find the treasure? How far would they go? But Fenn never backed down. As the years passed and as the hunt grew more dangerous, he kept reminding everyone that the journey itself was the real reward. Still, the lure of the treasure was too powerful for many to resist. But with each new attempt came a question: would anyone truly find it? And this is just the beginning. As the years went on, more people started to fall into Fenn's web of mystery. But what would happen when the first tragic death occurred in the search for the treasure? What price would people pay for a chest filled with gold? The quest for the treasure. There's something magnetic about the idea of hidden treasure. For some, the pull of Forrest Fenn's treasure chest became irresistible. The idea of uncovering gold and priceless artifacts buried somewhere in the Rocky Mountains led many to risk it all in the pursuit of Fenn's elusive prize. Sasha Dent was one of the many who dove headfirst into the hunt. Over 10,000 hours of research and more than 300 trips into the mountains, Sasha gave everything to solve Fenn's riddle. She traveled across the Rockies, decoding every clue, convinced the chest was just around the corner. But no matter how much time she spent, the treasure remained hidden, just out of reach. And then, Katya Luce's journey was no less intense. She sold everything she owned, spending $75,000 over 7 years in pursuit of Fenn's treasure. For Katja, it wasn't just a hunt, it was a life-consuming obsession. Each clue took her deeper into the mountains, but like many others, she never found what she was looking for. The treasure remained a mystery, and her sacrifices were vast. But not all stories had a happy ending. Randy Bilyeu, a determined treasure seeker, set out in 2016 only to lose his life during the search. His body was found months later, and his tragic death cast a shadow over the hunt. It was a wake-up call. Was the treasure worth it if it meant risking your life? In 2017, Jeff Murphy became another victim. While searching in Yellowstone National Park, Jeff slipped from a cliff and fell to his death. His story shook the treasure hunting community, but still the hunt continued. Forrest Fenn, though saddened by the deaths, never called off the search. Instead, he reminded adventurers to be cautious, urging them not to go anywhere an 80-year-old man couldn't go. But for some, Fenn's warnings were simply part of the challenge. In the same year, another tragedy happened. Paris Wallace, a pastor dedicated to the hunt, drowned while attempting to cross the Rio Grande near the Taos Junction Bridge. Paris's death just weeks after Jeff Murphy's made people question the price of chasing the treasure. Even the New Mexico State Police Chief asked Forrest Fenn to call off the hunt, but Fenn refused. He wanted the treasure search to continue, but he did urge searchers to stay safe and respect the risks. The tragedy didn't stop there. In 2019, Eric Ashby, a man who had moved to Colorado specifically to hunt for the treasure, drowned in the Arkansas River. His death was another sad incident of the danger the treasure hunt posed. But despite the growing list of lives lost, people kept searching. And then in 2020, Mike Sexton and Stephen Inlow went into the mountains near Dinosaur National Monument. After running low on supplies and being unable to contact help, Mike tragically succumbed to hypothermia. His body was airlifted off the mountain, but Stephen survived by drinking his own urine. It was another devastating reminder of the price people were willing to pay in the quest for gold. So why did people keep going despite the risks? Why did they continue chasing after something that had already claimed so many lives? Maybe it was the thrill, the mystery, or the hope of being the one to solve Fenn's riddle. Maybe it was the dream of becoming rich and famous by being the first to uncover the treasure. Or maybe, like so many before them, they just couldn't resist the call of adventure. But as the hunt stretched on, the treasure became more than just gold and jewels. It became a dangerous game, a test of survival. Fenn's cryptic clues led people into the wild, but at what cost? After so many lives lost and so much effort expended, was the treasure ever actually found? Or was it all just a wild goose chase? The answers are closer than you think. The treasure is found. After years of searching, sacrifices, and tragedy, the hunt that urged over 350,000 people and cost 5 lives finally came to a conclusion on June 2020. The treasure had been found. The chest, hidden somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, was located, but the identity of the finder remained a mystery. Fenn, true to his nature, kept the discoverer's name under wraps for a while. But the world was impatient, eager to know who had cracked the riddle after so many had tried and failed. The moment everyone had been waiting for arrived when Forrest revealed the identity of the treasure hunter, Jack Stuoff. Jack, a Michigan native and medical student, had spent years searching for the treasure. His journey began in 2018, like many others, with just a hunch and a poem. But instead of chasing clues all over the map, Jack focused his efforts on Wyoming, a location he believed fit the clues in Fenn's 24-line poem. Over the next 2 years, Jack spent 25 days trekking through the challenging territory of the Rockies, following the path laid out by Fenn. He wasn't deterred by the difficulty or the fact that so many before him had failed. He kept at it. In the summer of 2020, Jack's consistency finally paid off. He found the treasure in a remote area of the Rockies, hidden deep within the wilderness. The chest, once thought to be a legend, was real. It contained gold coins, precious gems, and rare artifacts, just as Fenn had promised. Jack had cracked the code and the treasure was his. But even in that victorious moment, Jack didn't rush to celebrate. Instead, he kept the discovery to himself. He didn't take photos or announce it right away. He was cautious, understanding the significance of his find. Forrest Fenn made the announcement that the treasure had been found and the hunt was officially over. But the reveal of the treasure was not the end of the story, it was just the beginning of a new chapter. Jack Stouf's identity became public, but that's where the questions began. Who was Jack Stouf, and how did he manage to find the chest when so many others had failed? Fenn's treasure had sparked a worldwide obsession. Thousands had poured time, money, and energy into the hunt, only to be left empty-handed. Lives were lost in the search, and for what? At the end of the day, the treasure wasn't just a collection of gold and artifacts, it became a symbol of hope, obsession, and risk. People wanted to believe in something bigger, something that could change their lives. And in the end, it did change Jack's life. The story didn't end with the discovery of the treasure. Instead, it raised questions about the ethics of such a hunt. Was it worth it? Fenn's treasure had cost so much: lives, time, and money. Was it right to lead people on a chase that led some to their deaths? Even after the chest was found, the hunt still left behind mystery and debate. The treasure may have been found, but the story of Fenn's treasure hunt is far from over. The hunt for answers and the legacy of the treasure will continue to haunt those who were involved. And with that, the final chapter may just be beginning. Is the treasure's discovery a true victory, or did it open a Pandora's box of questions? What Jack did to his treasure is the most shocking part of this story, the fate of the treasure. After Jack Stouf found Forrest Fenn's legendary treasure, he made an unexpected move. He sold it. Rather than keeping the gold, jewels, and artifacts that had captivated the world, Jack sold the entire collection in a private transaction in September 2020. He made it clear on Twitter that he no longer had any financial interest in the treasure. So where did the treasure go? The items are now in the hands of anonymous buyers. These buyers chose to auction off the remaining pieces through heritage auctions. For those who had followed the hunt for years, this auction became a way to own a tangible piece of history, even if they hadn't found the treasure themselves. Imagine holding a gold coin from Fenn's chest. It's like owning a piece of the adventure. In a Medium post, Jack explained why he decided to sell. While the treasure hunt had been about wealth for some, Jack reflected on the adventure, the thrill of discovery, and the lessons learned along the way. For him, it was not just about the riches, it was about the journey. However, the treasure hunt came at a cost. Lives were lost along the way. Some people became so consumed by the quest that they risked everything, and tragically some paid the ultimate price. The obsession with finding the treasure became dangerous, turning the hunt into more than just an adventure. Ultimately, the Fenn treasure was found by one man, but the legacy of the hunt will live on. It's not just a story of riches, it's a tale of obsession, mystery, and the price of chasing an elusive dream. The hunt may be over, but the lessons remain. What do you think? Was the Fenn treasure worth the lives lost in the years of searching, or was it just a game of chance? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed the story, and hit that subscribe button for more mind-blowing adventures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.